So I thought this week I'd show you an exercise, and it's one of those holistic exercises that trains a number of skills at the same time. So if you do this, it's a great picking exercise, especially if you're doing my finger style technique. It's well worth exploring this. Also, it's a great left hand exercise. You'll find as you're doing it, your left hand becomes much more mobile over the neck as well, so that's really useful. But finally, what I wanted to do was to focus on scale training. So you've probably seen on my channel, I've put a lot of videos online now that talk about 3 notes per string scales, cage scales, easiest way to learn these, the harmonic minor, the melodic minor, different fragments and things like that. And so the idea here is to give you the skills, give you the knowledge to be able to learn these shapes on the neck. Now psychologists call that level of learning conscious competence, which basically means you know the shapes and you have to consciously think about them, you have to consciously work out how they connect together in order to use them, which is a useful level of learning. But if you really want to excel on the instrument, you actually need to take this a stage further into what's called unconscious competence. And unconscious competence is where you don't use shapes like that, you just innately know the shapes, you innately know the scales on the neck, you don't have to think about them at all. So for example, when I'm playing the guitar, even though I teach these shapes, I don't use them because I just have that innate ability, I have that innate knowledge to know how to play the shapes on the neck. Now this exercise is a great way of getting you there. The most important thing though when you're doing something like this is to just put the time in. The more time you spend with the guitar playing these kinds of exercises, the better you'll get and the less you'll need to refer to those kinds of shapes and things and start connecting them together. So what I'm going to do is going to take the exercise through a series of stages. So it's worth sticking around to the end to see the progression and talk about how I move from one stage to the next with this kind of exercise. So what I'll be talking about firstly is I'll introduce a little 8-note fragment. I'll show you how to play it on the neck to start with. And then we're going to use that 8-note fragment to just move across all 7 positions going up the neck. So that's the second stage. The third stage is to start to use that 8-note fragment to move between positions on the neck. And then the fourth stage is to start freestyling over the neck, and that's the really interesting point, if you like. And that's where you can start to turn what is an exercise into something that you can use to improvise with, which is really quite useful as well. So let's start with stage 1. Okay, so the fragment we're going to use is just this one. It's a little 8-note pattern. Hopefully you can see that. So it starts with your index finger and then a descending line. So it's a nice little syncopated pattern. So you've got sort of 3 notes. And you need to be able to play it between any 2 strings, any 2 strings in a 3 notes per string pattern is basically what we're going to do with it. So that's the shape. Okay, so that's the melodic fragment. As I say, it's a nice, easy little 8-note fragment. It's got that nice syncopated feel to it as well, which means that I will actually use a fragment like this when I'm improvising. So the next stage is to see how we move that across the strings. So let's do that now. So I'm going to assume that you know your 3 notes per string scale shapes, or at least you can work them out, you can find your way around them. That's really the starting point. If you're not there yet, then you should check out some of my other videos where I go into the detail about how to memorize these shapes to start with. But okay, let's start with just one position. So there's the fragment that we've been working with, and you can see it finishes on the second finger, which lines you up perfectly for the first finger on the next string. So you can see how it takes you across the strings really nicely. So that's really what I want you to do to start with in all 7 positions, is see if you can make your way all the way across the neck. And coming back the other way, you need to do a string skip, but the same pattern. And that's the thing really to drill. Just see if you can make your way through all 7 positions going up and down the neck just by playing that fragment up and down across the strings. So the idea is to keep working on those shapes across all 7 positions going up the neck until you're reasonably fluent over them. And then once you can do that, we can start connecting these shapes together. Let me show you how. Okay, so the next stage is to start changing positions. So just see if you can change to the position below or change to the position above. So just do it by playing the fragment and then moving to the position below, and see if you know the fingering for that, and similar. And again, I've got a couple of videos that will go into how you fit these positions together, so check those out as well, they're worth looking at. And see if you can actually play that second position. So you actually know what the position is above, you know what the current position is, and similarly. You know the position below as well. So that's the next stage. Okay, so now we're going to start to push some boundaries by freestyling with it. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so now we're going to have some fun with it. And what I want you to do is just take that fragment again and just see if you can start moving it around the neck. Just let yourself free flow and see if we can connect some shapes together. And just see where your hand takes you. Don't let yourself get stuck in one position. The idea here is to start connecting these shapes together and finding your way around the neck. And this is a great little left hand exercise as well, because it means your left hand needs a light touch and needs to be mobile around the neck, so that's really useful. It also means that you have to really sort of understand these shapes now and start understanding how they fit together. It's also a good exercise to do with a metronome as well. See if you can keep that regular pulse going and start building up the speed. And just see where your hand takes you. So as you push the speed, everyone finds certain shapes, certain pairs of strings more difficult to navigate than others. And there's another video that I'd recommend you check out if that's the case with you as well. It's where I boil all 7 positions down into a series of fundamental movements. And if you drill those, you probably find that you'll find all of these scale positions much more easy to play. So I'd check that video out. Otherwise, hopefully this was useful for you. Like I say, it's one of those exercises that's going to help you on many levels, so it's well worth giving it a go. Otherwise, we'll chat next time. Goodbye.